Oh, hello, and welcome to the Shifts and Pucks News Pack for Monday, March the 13th. Of course, you can follow us on Twitter at Shifts and Pucks, Facebook.com Shifts and Pucks, YouTube.com Shifts and Pucks. Subscribe wherever you get your audio, as well as on the Area 51 Sports Network. Day off for the Canucks, day off for the Flames. The Flames played yesterday. And on the weekend, played 2 games, of course. They played the Ducks on Friday, and it was all in all a fairly lethargic effort against the Anaheim Ducks, where they lose 3-1. And then against Ottawa, they played a much crisper game against the Ottawa Senators, against a tired team, though. In the Ottawa Senators, but they did win 5-1 over the Senators yesterday. Had a good game from multi-point games from Elias Lindholm, multi-point game from Jonathan Huberdeau, multi-point game from Nazem Kadri as well, and Jonathan Huberdeau. So they mostly looked crisp. I think that would be the way that I would describe the Flames play yesterday. But but in terms of where the week of where the Flames are at, in terms of the standings, it was basically a week where you kind of tripped up. That loss to Anaheim, coupled with the fact that Winnipeg swept Florida. So they beat Florida on the Panthers on Saturday in overtime, and then they came away with a big win over the Tampa Bay Lightning yesterday. The Winnipeg Jets have moved into third place in the Central Division officially with 79 points. Still tied with Colorado, 1 point ahead of Colorado, but Colorado still has 3 games in hand. So on the Jets, but they also have 3 games in hand on the Flames, who have now trailed Nashville in terms of points percentage for that second spot. So it's their top. Nashville and Calgary both have 73 points. Nashville has more wins, 33, more regulation wins, 29, and as well. Regulation wins, and then basically the regulation overtime wins 29 over the Flames 28. Plus they have 3 games in hand. Plus they've won 2 in a row. So the Nashville Predators are a bit more in terms of in the driver's seat to be the one to chase down that second wildcard spot, whether they believe that it is the Colorado Avalanche, whether you believe it is the Winnipeg Jets. The Flames are not in the driver's seat, and that is because of that loss to the Ducks at Anaheim. Got a really solid week of goaltending from Jacob Markstrom. But it's been a week of controversy as well. Yesterday started basically Saturday when Jonathan Huberdeau was moved from the right side to the left side. It was a request from Jonathan Huberdeau moving to the left in terms of asking for that position, the position that he's played most of his career, a position that he's been considered the best at his position. Alan Walsh did more tweeting about it this week, talking about that. But Daryl Sutter is not backing down. Sutter brought up Jarome Iginla and said Iginla could score from anywhere. He scored from his opposite side. Huberdeau can do that too, although Huberdeau really didn't score from the right side yesterday. That was a play that he drove from the left and knocked it in. It's 2 players that are clearly not on the same page, or a coach and a player, pardon me, that are clearly not on the same page. And Huberdeau and Sutter, we've seen it all year. I mean, was just his 13th goal yesterday, his first home goal, Huberdeau, since January 26th. So it's certainly not been a great season for Jonathan Huberdeau. And that is a relationship that has to be somewhat rectified, or progress in some way for the Flames to be successful next season. And it's going to be, in some ways, this off season is a bit more intriguing than last offseason because we're faced with bigger questions with Johnny Gaudreau and Matthew Tkachuk. But the Flames have a number of players that are on expiring contracts, including Chris Tanev, Elias Lindholm, Noah Hanifin, to name a few. And you have Brad Treliving without a contract. So this team could go through a significant change, could ride the same waves. Who knows? But that's where we're at this point with the Flames. So they are off to Arizona and they are off to Vegas this week. And the way that they stay into this playoff race is win games. And it's not even a guarantee. They have won 3 of their last 4. They've won their last 2 road games. But this Arizona is a should win, but we've seen what they've done in should win games before. They simply have to step up this level in order for them to have a hope. 15 games left this year. And they got to hope that there's some stumbling down from other teams and if they're going to make the playoffs. By the way, should listen to the fireside chat with Dan and Matt, one of the conversations that they had, and we'll bring it up in our future podcasts as well, is it really worth it for this organization to make the playoffs? I mean, it's a wide open West where, you could see a Calgary team getting hot, winning one round, moving on to the second round. It's, but is it really for this organization? Would it almost permit some things to happen that probably shouldn't? You look at the Montreal Canadiens, the year of the COVID bubble regular season, the All-Canadian division, where they ended up being in the Stanley Cup final. I think they ended up believing that maybe they were somewhere they weren't because they got to the Stanley Cup final. I'm concerned that this could happen to the Flames. That they could go on a playoff run and they could believe that they're better than they actually are. But yeah, another controversy this week as well was around Adam Ruzicka. He has not played in 10 straight games. Was on the practice line with Walker Duehr and Milan Lucic, but it ended up having Trevor Lewis back in that lineup again. And with Lucic, Nick Ritchie sat out. Walker Duehr got in. So some more frustration from a guy that hasn't played in 10 games. He had a really good stretch earlier. He's been inconsistent, which is fair, but he's not playing. And he's a guy with some skating ability that I think a lot of fans want to see at least get a look. So that's where the Flames are at. Vancouver made some news in terms of a couple of things. They have won 4 in a row. They had a pretty impressive all-in-all 4-2 win over the Ottawa Senators on Saturday, where got a shorthanded goal from JT Miller. You're starting to see improved penalty killing, return to form with Thatcher Demko, and team starting to improve. Now, the question is, if you're part of Team Tank, which some people are, is this just simply hurting draft position for Vancouver, or is this building something for next season? And what is the difference? What are we seeing here? So has Rick Tocchet started to establish that identity? A couple of signings, of course, Guillaume Brisebois was signed. Phil DiGiuseppe yesterday was signed to a one-way 2-year deal as well. That was another signing. But a guy that Rick Tocchet has used in penalty killing situations, has given ice time to him, and a guy that certainly, is he is he an elite NHL player? No. Is he a guy that can be a really good piece in terms of depth and add something? Yes, it's a second round pick, back in 2012, 38th overall by Carolina. 4 points, 2 goals, 2 assists in 13 games this year. his career high goals was 7. That was back in 2016. He also had 5 1 year, 2018 for Carolina in 49 games. So yeah, certainly a guy, acquired from the range, played with the Rangers, played with Nashville. Guy can do some stuff, so he's a good bottom 6 piece that adds some penalty killing depth and some speed. Of course, today the Canucks signed Aidan McDonough, and of course, left wing prospect, 7th round in the 2019 NHL entry draft. Point per game player in the NCAA, 124 points in 124 games. According to Faber, in his rating in Canucks Army, known as one of the best pure shooters in the NCAA, 66 goals, 120 in 124 games. And so, in terms of, there will be a media availability a little bit later. He's 6'2". He is considered a pure winger, will turn 24 in November. A lot of scouts believe he needs to work on his skating, and they hope that his game translates well to the NHL. But it's a good thing when you find these late round picks and can add them into your organization. It's found money, because you don't expect much from a 7th round pick. So you're not expecting a lot from an Aidan McDonough, but if he can add something to your organization in terms of depth in some area, whether that's in Abbotsford, whether that's in Vancouver, that's great. And that's what the Canucks need to be doing as well. As much as it's important to get that high 1st round pick and draft well high, it's also important to draft well in the middle to the end. Organizations like the Tampa Bay Lightning have done very well doing that. Detroit over the years have done that as well. So that's something Vancouver needs to do as well. Now, this week for the Canucks, of course, we're not looking at them in the playoff picture. They're long out of that, but they have won 4 in a row, which is, again, depending on your position where you're at there. They've got the Stars on Tuesday at home. Then they head to Arizona on Thursday. So they get to see Mullet Arena for the first time. And then they have a Saturday, Sunday trip into California where they play the Kings on Saturday and Anaheim on Sunday. So that is the week for the Canucks. That's what's going on with the Flames. As far as the 3 stars of the week, then we'll get to the games and injuries. Clayton Keller is the first star of the week here of the Arizona Coyotes. 9 points, 4 contests. The Coyotes went unbeaten in regulation this week, 3-0-1. They have 13 points in their last 17 games. So tanking not happening in Arizona. They're 8-4-5. He had a 3-point game against the St. Louis Blues on a 6-2 victory March 7th. 2 assists in a 4-1 win against the Nashville Predators on March 9th. And one of Arizona's 2 goals in a 3-2 overtime loss to Colorado on March the 11th. And then a 3.6 career overtime goal in a 5-4 win over Minnesota March the 12th. So Clayton Keller, the number 1 star. Don't forget this guy, Sidney Crosby, still in the league. He's the 2nd star. 2-game winning goals with his 5 assists. The Penguins, people are wondering what happened. 3-0-1 this week. Tough loss to the Islanders last week, but he had a 3-point game on March the 7th, rallying the Penguins from a 4-0 deficit to the Columbus Blue Jackets to win 5-4. He did get 1 assist in that loss to the Islanders on 4-3, and he scored his 8th game-winning goal in a 5-1 triumph over the Flyers on March the 11th. And 80 points in 66 games this season for Sidney Crosby. 3rd star, you probably saw the goal he scored against the Oilers on Saturday. Mitch Marner. And, I think Connor McDavid has personally won the Hart Trophy, but Mitch Marner has to be in the conversation for at least being a nominee. 6 points in 2 contests, 2 points on is the Devils in a 4-3 win, 4 points against the Oilers on Saturday. He's leads the league in takeaways with 88. He's 4th in assists with 59. He's 5th in power play assists, tied for 5th with 25. 5th in power play points with 32. Shorthanded goals, he has 3, and 9 with 83 points. And I know that that's not, he's not in the top 5 in scoring, but he's just been, every time I've watched Mitch Marner, he has been a dominant player in the league. So Mitch Marner has been very impressive. So Clayton Keller, Sidney Crosby, Mitch Marner, your 3 stars of the week. 3 games in the National Hockey League tonight, and one of them does include the Toronto Maple Leafs. They will face the Buffalo Sabres as the Leafs continue in preparation to face the Tampa Bay Lightning. Look in middle April for the playoffs. 4 points ahead of the Lightning, by the way, to holding down that second place home ice advantage. And facing a Buffalo Sabres team that is, and we had some hopes for, was trending into the playoffs, but 4 losses in a row has them 7 points behind the Islanders for that second wild card spot. Looks like Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen will get the call in goal. Looks like Rasmus Dahlin will play tonight with Cale Clegg. He's been out with an injury. So you've got that for the Buffalo, and then for the Leafs, it looks like Matt Murray will get the call in goal, and they're going 11-7 tonight. The Leafs are 11 forwards, 7 defensemen. The as aforementioned Colorado Avalanche, a team that the Flames will be keeping an eye of, as well as the Predators and the Jets. They go to Montreal to face the Montreal Canadiens, they've lost more than, they are on a pretty lengthy losing streak here. They've lost at least 5 in a row, and so they did lose 3-1 to the Devils on Saturday night, and they've 3-5-2 in their last 10. So not going the greatest for the Montreal Canadiens right now. Stumbling along, but the Avalanche, Alexander Georgiev will get the call in goal, and of course, number of injuries. Still, Josh Manson still out. Gabriel Landeskog still out. Eric Johnson still out. For the Canadiens, Jake Allen will get the call in goal. So the Canadiens have lost 1 in a row in regulation, 3-5-2 though in their last 10. They're sitting in second to last in the Eastern Conference. And in terms of overall standings, they are sitting 5th right now in the Connor Bedard in terms of the lottery part. 58 points is what they have. So that's one other game. Colorado taking on Montreal. They have a ton of injuries as well. And then you get the Dallas Stars taking on the Seattle Kraken. These 2 teams played a really good game on Saturday as well in Seattle. And so we've got that going on again. Going back to Saturday, that one went into a shootout, but was a really, really fun game to watch. Kraken are a fun team to watch. I enjoy watching them for sure. And Dallas, of course, always fun to watch as well. But it was the Stars that came away with the 4-3 win. So these 2 are back at it again. Jake Ottinger will get the call and goal for the Stars, who lead the Central Division with right now 1 point ahead of Minnesota, who continues to roll right along. Thank you very much. And you've also got Philip Grubauer getting the call and goal for Seattle, who sit in 3rd in the Pacific Division. And in terms of they are 1 point ahead of the Oilers, and they are 4 points behind the Kings for second right now, as we're starting to see a little bit of distance pile up here in the Pacific. The Vegas Golden Knights have won 3 in a row and are looking like they're starting to kind of at least lock down home ice in the first round of the playoffs in the Pacific Division. So that is the news in terms of the games. In terms of injury notes, we've got Alex Tuch as well and Rasmus Dahlin. Look like both could play tonight against the Maple Leafs. Dahlin has missed. Tuch has missed 8 games with a lower body injury. 28 goals, 34 assists, by the way, in 62 points in 57 games. And then Dahlin. He didn't practice, but it looks like he is in the lineup. He did miss 3 games from February 26th to March 2nd with a lower body injury, but he is expected to play tonight. Cole Gutman out for the rest of the season. The forward will have shoulder surgery for an injury he sustained in November. Luke Richardson said it would have to be fixed before next season to get him ready on the timeline for training camp. He's a 6th-round pick, and he signed with the free agent of 6th-round pick of the Tampa Bay Lightning, in 2017. Signed with the Blackhawks on August 18th. And Robbie Fabry did not play against Boston this weekend because of a lower body injury. He was injured against the Chicago Blackhawks Wednesday in a 4-3 win against the Blackhawks. Derek Lalonde, Detroit head coach, does expect Fabry to be back at some point this year. Of course, the Philadelphia Flyers made a general manager change on Friday. They relieved Chuck Fletcher of his job, and Daniel Briere has come in as an interim at this point. But we're hearing the word rebuild in Philadelphia. Briere says there's no doubt in the mind that he can do the job. He has some great people around me as well, and he's not going to do this alone. Of course, Dave Scott said there would be a search to hire a president of hockey operations and a full-time general manager. And some talk about the idea of rebuild. Elliot Friedman reporting on 32 Thoughts that the possibility of Carter Hart could be available in the offseason for trade. They've got Samuel Ersson, who Flame fans saw against the Flyers on Family Day, as a possibility, so that could give you the opportunity to trade Carter Hart. You don't really have an untouchable in Philadelphia, of course, so it's looking like the word rebuild in Philadelphia. That's not something that you hear in Philadelphia. It's about competing, but Philadelphia looking like they're talking about the word rebuild. AHL, the Calgary Wranglers. Let's talk about them first. They officially clinched a playoff spot on the weekend with a win over on Friday, pardon me. And so, in terms of now, just for them getting into just holding down the position that they have, they've got 42 wins, 15 losses, 3 overtime losses. 5 points ahead of Coachella Valley for first place in the Pacific Division. They have 12 games remaining. The Firebirds have 5 games in hand, though. So that is what's going on there. There are no games, by the way, in the AHL until Wednesday. But they won 4-3. The Wranglers did on Sunday. And so the Wranglers were down 2-0 after the first period to Ontario, but Yan Kuznetsov, Nick DeSimone, Ilya Solioff, and Cole Schwint scored 4 in a row before Tyler Madden, former Vancouver Canuck, scored a late goal for the Reign. Alan Klein, former Flame, by the way, got an assist in that one, but Connor Zary had 2 assists in the game. Nick DeSimone a goal and an assist. Dryden Hunt getting himself involved as well. So the Wranglers with the win, and Dustin Wolf makes 27 saves. The Abbotsford Canucks played yesterday. They lost. They lost, of course, to Colorado 2-1. And they're in a battle with Colorado for third. And it's Linus Karlsson, who I think a lot of people are hoping to see in Vancouver at some point. He scored opened the scoring in the third. Ryan Merkley got tied it with 10 seconds to go for the Eagles, and then the Eagles score in the shootout to get the win. And it was Justin Scott that finally got the win. It was an 8-9 round shootout there. So Colorado with the win there. WHL, we'll check that out here. As we will start with the player of the week. Gabriel Sturck of the Kelowna Rockets, 8 points, 4 games, 3 goals, 5 assists. The captain of the Rockets had a good week. And Matthew Keeper in 2 games for the Kamloops Blazers, 0.50 goals against average, 981 save percentage. No games tonight, a couple games tomorrow in the Western Hockey League. And in terms of interesting scores for the week, you've got here the Moose Jaw with a 7-3 win. Prince Albert dominated Saskatoon with an 8-1 win yesterday. Kelowna with a 5-4 win over Tri-Cities. Vancouver with a 3-2 win over Prince George on Sunday. That was interesting as well. On Saturday, you had Brandon get 10 goals on the Oil Kings, 10-2. Red Deer 9-0 over the Calgary Hitmen. There, as Red Deer kind of continuing to establish themselves. Kamloops, they're getting themselves ready for their playoffs. 6-0 over Vancouver. Regina losing to Medicine Hat 7-0. Gavin McKenna scores his first goal in the WHL. And Kelowna with a big win over Spokane, 5-4. Seattle knocks off Everett 5-1. There. So that's what was going on in the WHL. That's what's going on in the AHL. That's what's going on in the NHL. Of course, that is the news for today, Monday the 13th. No news pack tomorrow. We'll be back on Wednesday, but you can follow us all individually on Twitter. Sean Beardy Canucks 03, Tyler TNOBLE, Chris Schneidz SCHNAIDZ, Devin Gordhow 09. I am Shifts and Pucks. I am KVOLE. Pardon me. Shifts and Pucks. Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch. Subscribe wherever you get your audio, as well as on the Area 51 Sports Network. We thank you for watching. We thank you for listening. We will talk to you very soon. Bye for now.